Islam, obviously came to correct and rectify many meanings. One of them was a social revolution in that, it was bringing equality to not only females, but it was also bringing equality to children. Children are marginalized. And so one of the main themes of the Quran stresses, do not kill your children for the lack of sustenance, for we will give them their sustenance and you as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'm just going to say, if you can elaborate on if it's a threat to the mother, obviously you can have that abortion.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about emergency cases. That's the general rule. Thank you, Sister Farida, for bringing that up. If that's normal, it's logical. Islam, all religions are logical. It's actually people who try to twist the religion that make them somehow look logical at certain times by monopolizing that. But religion in general, which is the way of God, makes sense. It's not against God. Is the one who created mind, and God is the one who sent us religion. So this, the mind and the science, and this is the creation of God. They both go hand in hand. If to address this question, if the pregnancy, the fetus becomes, in such a way to be a life-threatening or causing big trouble to the mother, in this case, the scholars would say we have a living human being and we have an expected, living creature to come out of that. So we have to choose now, and obviously the priority goes to the life of the mother. So that's a decision that physicians should decide about it. If it's a life-threatening or can cause problems, in this case, it's an emergency. It's not killing him just for the sake of God. Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the Sunni and the Shia? Because we hear it in the media and I don't understand what those differences are. Who's related to who?
Right, those are sects, if you want to call them this way. But actually Islam is one thing, which is the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Back in his time, there was no sects. It all emerged as a political difference. This is the beginning of it. Who should come after him? Like he passed away, and again, as I just said, but according to Lamartin, the quotation from him, it's not the way our faith works, is not only the church, it's not only the mosque. We go by it, sisters dress certain way, we eat certain way, we get married according to it, and that's what probably somebody will ask about the Sharia law, which is the very media thing in there, Sharia law. We are really implementing some of the Sharia law right now by choosing to dress certain how, growing my beard, praying. But they are presenting it in such a way that Sharia law means domination of the country. That's not there. That's not right. It's just the freedom of religion. Just like a Sikh would have the right to have his turban and practice his religion. That's the Second Amendment in there, in action. I can dress the way I want, believe the way I want, eat the way I want, and do everything the way I want. So because Islam is dealing with life as well as church, it's inside the church and outside the church. Once the Prophet, peace be upon him, passed away, he established a state in there. Who will be the leader after him? Here comes the difference, which is an eternal difference. Up until now we're going through a campaign right now, and look at all the candidates, and everybody is saying, I am the one. I am the one. I'm the only one who, and then the list comes on. I'm the only one who can do this. I'm the only one who can do that. Something like that happens, and there was kind of majority or sweeping majority to be close to consensus of people that they were electing one person, which is Abu Bakr, the best friend of the Prophet. And there was a lot of reference to that. Few people who decided no, they wanted to go the monarchy way, which should be his family, some of his family members. And even though Ali, one of his friends and his cousin, the one they claimed he had right to be the Khalifa or the successor of Prophet, he himself gave pledge of allegiance to the one that was elected by majority. And then it ends there until later on, years after that, some people started reviving that from within. No, that was a wrong decision. Like, as if you are still talking now about the election at Nixon time or something. It's gone. That's what some people started reviving that, and then they made it look like religious, but it's originally political thing. Up until nowadays, the reality of the matter is Islam is the same, Quran is the same. Even for Shia and Sunni, if you go to Iran, which is majority 80%, 75 to 80% of Shia, and that's the predominant country. Iraq is almost 50-50, and that's it. So the total population of Sunnis are 92 to 93%, and the total of the Shia is 7 to 8% of the total Muslim population. Majority of them are in Iran and in Iraq. And then they started having, as I told you, maybe I don't want to judge or anything, but difference. One of the differences, they believe in hierarchy, for example, just like it's close to Catholicism. But for Sunnis, you don't believe in that. And Imam is, yes, a respected person, but he's not in any way better than the normal person. They believe there's a kind of mediation between you and God. We don't believe in that. You just go directly to God. So that's the two main sects if you want. And most of what you see in there, in my opinion, is not a religious clash. It's more a political clash. And it's somehow like the what's going on in Ireland between the Protestant and so that's everywhere. Yes.
Could you repeat and clarify which is which? Which is the Sunni or Shia, the ones who do
Hierarchy.
democratic way as opposed to the hierarchy?
Those are the Sunnis. The Sunnis who believe like the way the man was elected is by majority. Everybody there chooses. The Shias believe in hierarchy. It's just the family of the Prophet. Those qualified, and they have a specific person and a specific order for them.
And
So
now
those are
the
the Shia.
Alawites.
Excuse me?
And now the Alawites.
Well, they have every kind of thing. I'm not an expert in Shias, but they have a Khomeini in there, and he is the speaker of God, the tongue of God. They have all of these, powers that they give to the religious people, and they have this hierarchy, but we don't believe in that. It's not there. Islam came to liberate people, just like Christianity came to liberate people, and then certain people try to take it somehow that I'm the one. I speak in the name of God. It happens again in Christianity in the Middle Ages that some people speak in the name of God. It's not right. Yes.
Imam, the death penalty. Is it lawful for a culture to put people to death?
Death penalty, big question. Again, it's death penalty that takes us to, we have a criminal law, if you like, in Islam as well. We have certain punishments applied to certain crimes. But again, you have to have an entire system for that to work. So, talking about death penalty, for example, in America, that's not going to be possible if you do not have a court system. You have to have a court system that's working according to a certain law. And then this law is in harmony with the Constitution. So it's a complete system before you can talk about the final product. So death penalty is there, yes, as it is in the laws of many, not all the states, but many states and everything. But when and how it applies and everything, we have a lot of ethics to that. So, to give you one example, yes, it's there for certain crimes and everything, but you should have an entire court system and an entire law there and free trial and everything, so that and a judge who can do that. It's not like somebody dislikes something and then he implements a death penalty against them. It doesn't work this way. That's going to be a chaos and that's going to be a jungle more than anything else. To give you an example, criminal law is there, yes, because there are crime and there are criminals, and we have different punishments for them, just like in any law in the world. We have jail, we have death penalty, we have this and that. When does it apply? How does it apply? All of that has a certain way to work. But one thing to share with you, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said in Arabic, which means with the least doubt that we might have in any crime that this person didn't do. We are not really 105% sure that this is a criminal person. and he is convicted, and he is guilty of it, you cannot apply. And to apply that, you have to have, for some crimes, 4 witnesses. You have to see it with their eyes. You know, unless somebody is really doing it in the street and crying in front of everybody, and in this case, you know, probably he deserves whatever is going to happen to him. But to just share with you, it did not happen, at least in the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Almost one or two cases, or very few cases that happened this way, that they had to go to the death penalty when it was in both of these cases, the person himself is coming and asking for it, believe it or not. He was saying, "Oh, Messenger of God, I have committed this crime." And the Prophet keeps telling him, "No, maybe you didn't really intend to make that." He keeps saying, "No. Why did this happen?" It happens because this man, out of his faith, he wanted to get the prescribed punishment by God so he can be purified and to get this sin, you know, over from him. So yes, it's there, but again, as I explained, it has ethics to apply. You have to have a system and court and everything. Did that make sense? Yes, sir.
I have a question. It's difficult for me to ask the question, but you'll know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
There's a very small minority of fundamentalism within the Islamic community that makes the 6 o'clock news. Why is it that you don't see the vast majority of Islamic leaders excommunicate them, disallow them, and come out in a unison, loud voice that says, "That is not what our religion is about"?
Well, thank you for helping me answer the question. Because you first say this is a very small minority or fraction of Muslims who do that. And yes, we do admit that it's there. I'll call them crazy people. And crazy people are everywhere, in every culture, in every nation, including the United States. It's not religious, it's not connected to the country, or it's everywhere. You have the KKK who is in there and what they carry and believe. You have whatever, I don't want to judge people, Tamil tigers elsewhere in Asia. You have people everywhere who believe in that. We have to eradicate whoever stands in our. That's there, everywhere. Why? The second question is, why don't we stand against them? I'm not sure if it was today, maybe soon, very soon I saw that we had in Panama City, I'm not going to talk at the larger scale. In Panama City, it was mainly our youth. You remember Hussein Ahmed some time back, was a year ago, more than a year ago, when ISIS first started appearing and everything. We went, many of us, including youth and everybody, to 77th and 23rd Street, having all of these banners that Islam is not ISIS, ISIS is not Islam, we are against them, those are terrorists and everything. And the TV came and everything. But the thing is, and that's something we know because it's happening to us. It's where you direct the camera. You know, camera is if you take the camera, you know, to an event like that, that's beautiful. Muslim people of different faith, humans of different faith, coming together, asking questions, learning from one another, sharing things with one another. Beautiful. But that doesn't make a lot of viewership in there. Right? You need somebody who killed somebody. You need to have some heat in there. And that's usually where the camera is going. And the camera is always with those experts about Islam. And all the qualification about Islam is just they read about it or something, and they're not even Muslims to talk about Islam. And they will be talking day and night in Fox News and elsewhere about jihadists, terrorists, this and that. Even the word jihad itself, believe it or not, the word jihad is a good word. It means a struggle. You struggle to be a good person. And then you struggle also physically if somebody is attacking you to push back. Is anything wrong with that? But then some people are taking those words and abusing them somehow, and now they are everywhere just because the news, you know, are highlighting that. But in our mosques, we try to be visible, but we do not control the media. But here we are, we say those people do not represent Islam. in any way. They just represent themselves and take it from there. And all organizations we have here in the United States, a lot of organizations, they issue the clear, and they keep repeating that, clear statements against that. So if I am invited anywhere, you will see me saying that we are against that, Muslims are against that, but the thing is they do not usually, we don't get the chance to say that. But we are definitely against all of these barbaric things. Actually, most of the people who are killed by ISIS or those people are Muslims. Majority who are killed by those people in Syria and Iraq and elsewhere are Muslims. So.
Can I add something?
Sure.
It's also really hard to excommunicate, as you mentioned, a group of people who are not known to the public eye, not their whereabouts, not their voices, not their opinions necessarily. And in any group of extremists, you have leaders who are unknown to the public, or if they are known to the public eye, then sometimes it's hard to reach them, and then they have their branches that go out into society, and they're affecting other people, and it's really, really difficult to pinpoint sometimes the source, but especially how many people have been affected by these ideologies. And if you study the politics of the Middle East, for example, where a lot of violence is right now, it's such a cyclical effect of violence upon violence upon violence that affects ideology, makes things more extreme and more violent. And so, more properly would be to ask what is the root of the problem, which is a whole, books and debates and conversations have been going on for centuries about this. So what is the root of the problem and how to attack that? Because even if we were able to round up, say, 1,000 people who are the masterminds of all the violence in the world right now, or 1 million people, and excommunicate them, then there would be a continuing system of some sort of political violence or an inequality of some sort that would breed the same type of mentality and would start all over again. So that would be, I think, the more proper solution is to find out what the issue is and then deal with the issue. And the issue will help deal with people's mentalities, I believe.
What is the issue?
There are so many issues. So the Palestinian,
The root issue.
the root issue, I think, is injustice. I would narrow it down to that. That applies to oppression and injustice. That applies to, from a Muslim perspective, the Palestinian cause, oppression and injustice. It applies to what's happening in Syria now, oppression and injustice. It applies to what happened, in the Far East countries, China, all other places where now we're speaking about the Middle East specifically, the Arab Spring, oppression and injustice. A lot of that, gave way to people just being bottled up for so long and then a big explosion. And now here's what's happening in the Middle East. And it's not just the Middle East. This has been throughout history. Countries that you study from, England to the United States, the American Revolution. And, it just happens over and over. As long as people are going to be oppressed, whether it's by their own leaders or by foreign powers, this is going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of time. If I can, I do want to take more questions. What time is it? Okay. I want to take, we'll take a comment, and I want to take a 5-minute tea and baklava break. I want to make sure that you guys get some, so some people are going to leave right after. 5 minutes, tea and baklava, and then we'll reconvene. And if you don't have any questions, then I have some questions to take